Pastor Bob Sharp from the Trinity Lutheran Church, and then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Adams.
We hear from the psalmist tonight from Psalm 48. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. In the city of our God, his holy mountain, beautiful in its loftiness, the joy of the whole earth, like the heights of Mount Zaphon. The city of the great King, God is in her citadels. He has shown himself to be her fortress. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord Almighty, in the city of our God. God makes her secure forever. For this, God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide, even to the end. We pray. Heavenly Father, hear our prayer and let your blessings rest upon us. We give you thanks for the many blessings you shower upon our city, and we ask that you continue to look upon all of its citizens in love. As the psalmist describes, it is your presence that makes our city beautiful, and it is your presence that makes our citizens secure. Grant to us your continued protection. Watch over the police, firefighters, and emergency personnel. Keep them safe and healthy. May the families of our fair city always live and rest in the glad confidence that you who watch over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. We invite your Holy Spirit into our midst tonight, in this city and in this meeting of its council. We ask that you bless and consecrate the voices that will speak tonight and the decisions reached by council. Keep the mayor, the staff, and the council secure in your protection and at rest under your healing hand. Keep all eyes tonight turned upward to receive your blessings with thanksgiving. May you be glorified in all that is taken up, and may all the decisions reflect your glory to the citizens, to all of Iron County and the entire region. In Jesus' strong name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Sharp.
Y'all arise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will now move on to our agenda order approval, and this will be the agendas both for our work meeting and our action meeting. And are there any changes? On the work meeting agenda, item number 4, the closed session, we would like to remove that item.
Move to approve the agenda order.
Second.
Both meetings.
With that change?
With
No,
that
with
change.
the,
With the change.
With the
Is that
change.
in your motion?
Mhm.
okay. And it's seconded. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All right. We will now move on to council business. Is there anything? No? Wow. Okay. Remember, this is for you. We don't have any meetings for the next 2 weeks. So, I mean, you can come and hang out here on Wednesday night, but
Can we find some supervision for Tom?
it will be,
On Wednesday night.
The weather's nice. Can I ask a question, a comment here?
we will do, in just a second, we'll get to public comments.
Okay.
So we'll write that in. Absolutely. So yes, just remember that So basically, don't come. I know it's going to break everyone's heart. Then we will move on to staff comments, and we'll start with
I placed, Kit was going to pull up a map if he could. And I placed a MOU on your tabletop there. And let me explain what this is. What you see on the screen here, the building is our fire training center. That's our fire training center right here. We're working with some property owners through this memorandum that own 100 acres over here, and it goes down this way. They have interest in about 100 acres. There's an existing master plan on that 100 acres to develop it, mostly residential. Some of it's industrial and commercial. What they're trying to do through this MOU is they are trying to attract some uses to that property that would be more in line with having an airport across the street. They're trying to work with a couple of different governmental entities to see if they can entice them to relocate some airport-related facilities to our town. And that's what the MOU is all about. It's saying that we, as the owners of the airport, know what they're doing and know how they're trying to sell that property. And we're very supportive of them trying to bring that type of use to town. And we also recognize that there's probably some logistical hurdles that we'll have to overcome as far as our airport goes and roads and things like that. But this
Does
is
it say
just
they want access through the gate, the fence?
well, it depends on what goes there, and we recognize that
Potential for that?
they're trying to market
Certain
it with that
circumstances.
potential, and it's up. The FAA's got a big say in that.
Sort of the way the deal was done with Cyberjet. You're building planes, and here's a way to get them. But it has the potential to do that.
Has potential to have an airport use in that nature.
That looks like that used to have some sort of something on it.
the corner.
Yeah, what are those? Are those alien landing sites or?
Back in 2006, when the boom was going, there was a development that was out there grading and getting ready for their development and making building pads and things went south, and
They
that's where
stopped.
it ended up.
Same guys.
Oh,
At that point, they were working with a different developer. It's the same property owners that we're still dealing with.
and this subdivision to the north looks like that to this day, or is it? It's not any larger, or
I think that subdivision has a second phase that's approved, doesn't it, Kit?
Yes, yeah, this is
and it's going to be to the east, or is it part of this?
It's not part of this MOU.
Okay.
Oh.
it's developed. There's
Right
second
there.
phase is out in
That-
out
yeah.
in DC.
Can you
So I
scroll
thought
that
there
map
was-
over a little bit?
Thought there was something that we talked about out there somewhere once.
I'm not sure what's going on here.
I don't see the fireman's training bus in that picture.
Oh.
Now I've lost it all here.
So there's if you follow that 1600 north there, it goes parallel to the airport as you're traveling east. And then when you get towards the eastern end of the airport, there's a bend in it that goes back around. The 100 acres is, from what you saw in that picture, moves to the east, and it doesn't have any of the residential in it. It's all bare land right now. There's probably a couple of guys out there that have some equipment,
And does it run right on the eastern boundary, right up to the road that is next to the airport fence?
yes,
So that whole thing is contiguous.
yes. Anyway, they're anxious to get this approved. We wanted to bring it tonight, so to give you a copy, and we'll get it on the next action meeting for your consideration. Thank you.
Lovely.
Are there any other staff comments? The staff has got to spend the past 3 days in budget meetings with us, so.
They're happy to be here tonight too. You can just see it.
Yes. All right, we will move on to our public agenda with our public comment portion. If you will just make sure you state your name so we have that for the record. Now is your time to come and address the council.
Thank you.
My name is Frank Heiser, Heiser. I'm going to start with a question. The question is, how long does it take to get a street light fixed? There's one in front of my house that I noticed was out before Thanksgiving. I called the power company and they told me it was up to the city to fix it. I've called the works department of the city 3 times and that light is still not fixed. The address is 195 Fiddler's Canyon Road, up by the Eagle Point condominiums. This is not in the condominium land, but it is right next to the driveway that goes into it. So I'd like to see that light get fixed. It's been a long time. I've heard with a reliable anonymous source, it's been out 2 years. I don't know that as a fact, but I know it's been out since before Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
know
so
that
much.
they wait for a period of time to collect enough to go out and fix them all, but certainly since Thanksgiving is way too long.
Is that light out on the city street or is that in?
It's on City Street. It's on Fiddler's Canyon Road.
Right.
Right across from the car
We
wash.
probably should have a deal that with those guys that either we get up to a certain amount or a certain time passage, kind of like the oil in your car change, you know?
Yeah, from the bills I've seen, we've had plenty of work for them.
Okay.
So we'll make sure Public Works gets this one moved forward. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? No? Okay, then we will move on to our business agenda, our public portion first with the consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of minutes dated March 1st and 8th, 2017. Approval of bills dated March 17th, 2017. Approving agreement with Bullen Collins for letter of map revision on Coal Creek Flood Control Project. Are there questions, comments, concerns? No? Can we,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to our action agenda with item number 4, consider an ordinance amending the general land use plan for the business and light manufacturing to high-density residential and property located at 1400 West, 500 North. Do you have anything to add or to add?
Do you have any questions from last week?
Tyler, there was one that we failed to bring up that I was doing a little research back through the planning commission, and that was some information I visited with you on it, and was that on typically on a zone change where the request is being made by an individual who does not actually own the property, that they need to have notice or written notice of representation from the owners of that property to make that zone change or to even request it. And that one slipped through the cracks. I thought about it after I got home. So I just wanted to mention that. I know there is some real estate contracts on the ground for purchase. But I just was going to bring that up. I didn't know exactly, because it's kind of a common sense thing that after you sent me the state law on it, that any individual just can't come in and request a zone change unless they own that piece of property. So I just wanted to make that public. We didn't discuss that last time.
And I contacted both Mr. Platt as well as a real estate agent, and they confirmed this contract is in place pending approval. If the city council decides not to approve it, then the contract for the sale will fall through. But yeah, the individual that was here from Richfield last week, he's the one who's in the contract to take control of it if this passes.
Right. And I understand that he can't be here tonight. And I don't know if he's had conversation with Bob or not. I had a couple of phone conversations this afternoon on the subject of a possibility of looking at, which we didn't discuss last week either, because the request was for multi-unit R3. I offered him a suggestion of R3-1, which is a zone that we have that limits it to residential dwellings. The only drawback that most developers have is the lot size being 6,000 square feet minimum. And I don't think that is his intention after some phone conversations that they wanted it, but that does make a difference. That suggestion, as we talked about last week, gives you an option of about 48 units total in the unit, as opposed to with a multi-use, you could have 192 units or somewhere in that vicinity. And that's where we had a lot of conversation on access. And I'm kind of leaning that way. If it gets to those kinds of numbers, I know on paper we have plenty of access on paper, but I'm not sure that if it got into something of that size without accessing industrial road, I'm not sure that would be something I could support. But that's just a couple of thoughts I've had.
But by ordinance, he couldn't exceed the 80 units, could he?
Not without the second access.
Without the
Correct.
next access.
Correct.
So we wouldn't be in risk of
Right.
doing that. I had some conversation also with Matt, the developer on the property, and we talked a little bit about the actual access as to, I know a lot of the residents are concerned about traffic on 1400 West. And he said, well, every time I go down there to the property, I come up 1600 or 1500, whichever one it was. And he says, I make a right, I go to airport to the light, and then I go either to the University Way or to Providence or whatnot. And as we discussed it, I think as if you have student housing down in there, that's the access that I think those students would take rather than going through the commercial district and through the traffic there. And so I felt a little bit better about the egress out of there after I had a conversation with him.
And the other thing, and they're probably not that far along into the project, obviously, because, you know, they want to clear the zoning first. But the other idea is that I think the way he wants to develop it, and I don't know if even a PUD has been considered. I know we don't like that term as much anymore, but you know, the access may not be a city street from what I understand. He could have just a driveway going into the project and not actually a city street. And that could be classified as the access, you know, to his property, because he may not have very many streets in there if it gets into that higher density that he sounds like he wants. He doesn't really, from what I was told, want to do 6,000 square foot lots. Obviously, he's looking to
That was
make
the conversation.
make it more
I had too.
dense. So anyway, just a couple of information we found out since.
I had a friend who went to far more social events than I did, and he had the phrase, that's like wearing brown shoes with a tuxedo. And my feeling as I went through there is this thing has a freeway on one side and industrial on both sides. It's a wonderful project, but for me, it's just in the wrong place. It does not fit. It's just too industrialized. And as I came up 1400, a pickup was coming the other way. We actually kind of had to jog a little bit to even get past each other. And so I love the project. I would like to see it somewhere, but to me, that's a brown shoes with a black tuxedo. Not a good fit.
Even though it joins up with the rest of the residential there.
Yeah.
I would just think the
Is that-
residential that's there right now would prefer to see that than some kind of industrial come
there's
in
no
there.
doubt about
you know.
that, because once again, I was standing in front of North Elementary and here came a double dumper
Mhm.
dump truck going through, but
Because it's inevitable, it will become something. It's not going to be a vacant lot. So,
Did finally get a hold of
Bob,
somebody.
did
from-
you have anything else to add as far as I know you've been working with Matt a little bit? I don't know.
Yes.
Bob Platt, yeah, we work, a couple things. Yeah, 6,000 square foot is not going to work for him. It's R3M as a request, not R3. Second access, you said the only other possibility was industrial road. We talked last week about this here, taking 400 north through. You want to show that picture, Kit?
Yeah, so I know what you mean there, but I meant actually out of the property. I mean in the back, but
Well,
that's future. I understand that.
yeah, the 80, the second access, I mean, that is definitely would have to be met. Sure, we'd like to see it on industrial road, but there's a lot of unknowns right now with that being railroad property. This is a definite possibility too, going through this Lunt property to this dedicated street right here and out to Airport Road.
Tyler did some research on just making a crossing across the railroad property there. And while not the easiest thing in the world, it does appear that there is some potential avenues for that to take place if anyone wanted to pursue that.
I did finally get a hold of the railroad person today, and they're going to try to get the real estate lady to call me and we can talk about that. So,
Must be hard to own so much land.
Follow.
Refresh my memory, Bob, on the, so rather than R3, R3M, and there's R3-1.
There's not, there's R3.
R3M and R3 single family.
So there isn't an R3-1.
I thought it was just R3, single family, 6,000 square foot minimum, and R3M, which is 24 units per acre.
So without another access, they can only have 80, what was it, 85?
Right, yeah, at 80 unit.
Does that include like an apartment building, 85 doors? Does that include 85 doors or units?
That's dwelling units.
85
so that's
dwelling
it.
units.
Yeah, so apartments.
80.
80.
Not 80.
His plan is to build the cottages like he's done at Snow College, not apartments. But of course, the door is open for that. If it's
Well, he mentioned that
Yeah.
that if it didn't work, he might pursue something else.
exactly. But either way, the second access is.
Either way, you're going to
Cast
have
in
the same
stone.
number of doors until you get second access. Now
Right.
you could do something different, right?
Bob, do you know the construction of those? Are they kit or are they stick built?
I
Do
think
you
they're stick-
have any
I think
idea?
they're stick built.
I wanted to ask that too.
Did that little brochure didn't that brochure that you handed us have like little pictures of you order them like that or something? No?
It's got kit tagged on it. That's why I was asking, but I don't know.
You know,
don't
I don't want to, Matt had something come up. He's not here, and I really aren't positive on that. I know there's 600 square foot cottages for married student housing. I don't
Very
know
nice-
exactly if they're
very
stick
nice
built or not, but they're
facilities.
nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there additional questions from the council
We sure need them.
related to this item? Questions, comments? No. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second that.
All right, this is a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Okay, so it's 3-2, so it passes. Okay, we'll move to item number 5. Consider an ordinance changing the zone from R-2-2 GC to INM-1 to R-3M on property located at 1400 West, 500 North. Silas?
So, yeah, the last one you did was the general land use plan. This is the zone.
Move to approve the ordinance changing the zone.
Second.
We'll start with Councilman Adams.
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That passes. Can we get a motion to adjourn this meeting and move into our work meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep, I know. Yeah, it's a tough business.
I mean, it's.
Well,
And I just
the old thing, your freedom to swing your fist stops at my nose. And so giving that guy the right to do that screws over people who have already been there for years, you know. Yeah, that's the
They have
thing.
the right to buy that land too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It just doesn't seem like a good use for a place to put houses to me. We've got other places for that.
R3.
You ready? All right. We will call our work meeting to order for tonight, March 22nd. And we will begin with our business agenda and our public portion with item number 1, a public hearing to consider a general land use plan amendment from medium density residential to high density residential.
I suppose we ought to pull up a picture. This is an interesting little
But you
piece of
still have to
property.
say your name.
Keith Elvis, Joe Civil. Thank
Hey,
you.
thanks.
I just figured everybody recognizes my voice
Yep.
automatically, right?
That's right.
We all
Should be on
do.
radio.
So, you know, that's a thought. So out here on 56, just this is 4200 West. This is Canterbury Court, and this is the Lamplight subdivision down below it. There's some new storage units went out there. You have the county subdivision Buena Vista over here and their main access there. This property is all undeveloped and is currently owned by Burgess. Highway 56, of course, here, and the railroad above it. This little piece of property is kind of an interesting little piece because it's landlocked out here. The idea is all of this property right here to the south is currently zoned R3M. All of this property right here is zoned GC, and of course, this is out in the county. This is all annex transition or MPD, something like that. So what we'd like to do is change this to an R3. It'll be contiguous to all three R3 zoning to the south. The GC that's built right here is all done in residential. Currently it's zoned RA because it's just been sitting that way since it was annexed. The plan is to place some apartment buildings on this. We have access to 56 right here, and there's currently an existing 6-foot fence all the way across here between all these other residential properties. If we do it this way, building apartments, of course, we'll be building a cinder block wall right there. And then all of our access will come out here onto 56. So there won't be any interaction between this development and the neighboring residential district. Well, that's kind of the plan. In the general plan, it calls the entire area to be an R2. So we're here tonight asking for a general plan amendment and then a zone change, simply because it's all called to be an R2, but it is zoned R3M here and then general commercial there. So.
Does the council have any questions? Or Heath at this point? No?
How many units is it that's going in there?
Let's see, I think we have, the plans aren't set yet as we're just in the zone change stage, but we are looking at, I believe, 28 units. So like 7 fourplexes.
Okay.
Is what it'll be. They'll just be 2-story. So comparable in height to any other residential structure in the neighborhood.
This was kind of an interesting one that came through the planning commission. Of the 7 commission members, only 4 were present and they were split.
Yeah,
2-2.
we were 2-2
on this recommendation.
Remind me what that MPD zoning is on the property to the west?
MPD zoning is no longer a zone. It used to be the master plan development zone,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
been done away. So it's still sitting in that zoning for all intents and purposes. I believe Kit's office refers to it as an annex transition at this point, as
As
far as
what?
what it is.
So this is still zoned RA,
This little piece is still zoned
which is
RA,
not even
which also is not a zone.
not a zone in our current ordinance.
Correct.
How high did you say this was going to be?
2 stories.
2 stories? And everything else in that neighborhood is
Single
one
story.
single story?
Well, the lamplight stuff to the south is single story. I'm not sure about Canterbury Court.
Seems like there's a
I
couple
don't
of
know.
2 stories and whatnot in there.
I know that all residential areas are limited to 35 feet and 2 stories, so it's all the same. As far as what you can build, I don't know what's existing out there.
So it'd be the height of a 2-story house.
Yeah, I think
This
most
is the
of them
land
are-
use plan that's up there. That whole area is designated on land use to be single-family residential medium or the R2 type developments.
All right, are there any additional questions from the council? Do you have anything else you want to add? Okay, then, do you have anything else you want to add either?
No, I just want to say that we've tried very hard here to limit any interaction between that other residential neighborhood by accessing entirely off 56. The units, even the headlights that pull in there will be shining on the front of buildings and not in people's backyards. We've done everything we can to keep this as low impact as possible. But it does seem to suit itself pretty well to a little R3 area, accessing right there off 56 and its own place with its own wall around it and done and clean, I think. So,
All right,
Have you secured that access?
yeah, we've had conversation with UDOT. It's on their master plan and has been.
Okay.
And we've also had some input with them as far as the width goes and everything else. So they appear to be on board.
Yeah, and I think you work that well because I know the owner has access actually through the back of that.
Well, the
Or
owner
could
doesn't
have,
the owner
doesn't he?
doesn't technically have any access
a
at
big-
all. He tore down
Yeah,
a private fence right there and has been driving across it through lamplight, but that's definitely not a legal access
I'm
by
just
any
saying.
stretch of the imagination.
I'm just saying if he tried to do it, he hasn't. That's what I'm saying. He dumped it all onto 56, which helps the neighborhood out. That's
Well,
the
I
point
think
I'm
so.
trying to make.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a plus too for that little project.
okay. Then we will open our public hearing. If there is anyone here that would like to address the council, just make sure you state your name.
My name's Brett Millett, and I live about on the corner here on this little Dorito of a property here. These properties are pretty small, so probably what you can't tell from this map is these lots along the back fence here are probably like 0.5 acres or something. They're not very big. Ours is one of the bigger ones because we have this little funky section here. But from our little house to this fence, this wood fence is about 20 feet. And my concern all along is if we're putting 2-story apartment complexes in here, my entire kitchen view will be a balcony with potentially 4 neighbors, staring down into my yard. So I'm not really happy about that. So there's a hit to I think my livelihood, and it's not just me. As we've spoken to, most of these are rentals here. We're one of the few people who own. But as we've spoken to the tenants, they don't like the idea either, and I think it would probably be a hit to my property value too. If that's not the truth on paper, I definitely think it kills the curb appeal. And we had specifically our neighbors next door. They're 1-story duplexes. We talked to our neighbors next door, and they were like, well, one of the things that brought us out here is we were tired of the apartment place. We wanted to come out where there were just homes. There's no other apartments in this entire neighborhood anywhere that I'm aware of, whether it's zoned that way or not. And so, yeah, we're a little concerned about about that. I think the owners are a little concerned about the appeal of their homes being rented. So anyway,
You say that most of your neighbors are already renting?
yeah, what we do have a neighbor here in the corner with this bigger lot. They also own. She was going to be here tonight. And
But what's the practical difference then of having them renting across the fence? Or the practical difference of having a two-story mansion built on that spot? You're going to still have a view of someone's roof.
right. Well, there's going to be a lot more people in a
More people.
fourplex
Okay.
and on four balconies.
So is it the view or the rental or the people?
A little bit of all of it. You know, if
Two
there,
of those,
yeah.
you're going to live with one way or the other.
right. And you know, that's regrettable, but you know, I don't want to, you know, I realize this property owner has the right to develop his property, but I do think there is, you know, it's going to kill a lot of the appeal for the rentals, but it's going to make it really hard when our property value does rebound, because it hasn't yet. It's going to make it almost impossible to sell.
Are
So-
those homes across the west side, are they mostly single story then, or is it a mix of?
This one
Two-story?
on the right here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, here?
No, on the west side of your subdivision that borders it.
Like, okay.
These homes here, are they single?
Those are our homes.
That's where he lives.
Yeah. but
Yeah,
Are they
they're-
single or?
They're
two-story?
duplexes, single story. So yeah, just wanted to give you my concerns, and hopefully you'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Is there anyone?
My name's Derek McDonald, and I own the house next to Brett's, and I rent it out. I'm of the same position that he is. This is not downtown SUU, you know. This is rural living way out west of town. We didn't move out there, didn't buy property out there to have 28 units right next to us of housing. The one thing to note there, I don't know how they're going to work with the leveling, but our houses right there on that street are all elevated up about 6 or 8 feet. And then it drops down, and I'm not sure if they're going to plan on building it up but whatever it is, it's going to put us in an awkward view. It's not like we're on a playing field. So, you know, our house is right here, and then it drops down. And if we're to build up 2 stories, it would block everything in that SFR. I just propose, I mean, my hopes would be that it would be developed in a way that the rest of the neighborhood in all of that area is done. Single story homes, twin homes, young married couples, that sort of thing. I would hate to watch 28 or, you know, 7 fourplexes move in there and change the dynamic of the neighborhood completely. So that's all I got.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, and this will go on our action agenda for our meeting in 2 weeks. 3 weeks, after our 2-week,
Hiatus, yeah.
yes. Probably should have corrected. Thank you for whoever got that. Okay, item number 2, public hearing to consider a zone change from RA to R3M for property located at 4300 West, SR 56.
So this is just like we dealt with that property earlier. We just dealt with the general land use amendment. If that is granted, then there need to be a zone change.
All right, does the council have any questions? If not, we will open the public hearing for this item if there's anyone that would like to address the council. Yes.
Hello, Mark Meisner. I'm the developer of this project, and I also own the 5 units to the south. So my own personal units do back up to these 28 units. And so I understand the concerns of some of the other neighbors out there, but in fairness, I don't think that these apartments are going to devalue or change the value of the 5 units that are in Lamplight to the south. And that's my only point.
Right.
And I'd answer any questions if you had any questions about the
I was
project.
gonna say, are there any questions for?
I guess in my mind, I wonder, you say you're doing just 4 plexes, but the R3M, can you do a 3-story or is that limited to 2-story?
Oh, you can go up to, I think it's 35 feet high, so
35
it can be
feet.
3-story.
But my intention
But
is.
that's not your intention.
No, my intention is normal 2-story buildings. And, there's something else unique about this project with the access off of 56 and the cost associated with that access. The R2 zone would never be feasible from a cost standpoint. I know that that's not this body's job to worry about cost, but that piece couldn't be developed in that capacity with the improvements that would need to be made from access off of the highway to have 4 lots in there. I think 5 would be the most. So it really couldn't stay in that use. We started out trying to look at that use, and it just won't work in that use. And in that zone, you could build a 2-story the same height as what we're planning on doing anyway. So really, the height is the same in R2 or R3.
How long have you owned that, Mark?
Well, I owned the 5 since the beginning of Lamplight, and on this is current. I bought this because 2 reasons. The only access to the utilities are through an easement on my own units there to the south.
So you just bought that recently?
Correct.
And that's always been my argument with these projects. If people have a problem, I mean, when people buy properties and move in, they need to be aware if there's a empty lot there could be something going there that they don't like. And if they don't like it, they can buy the property and do what they want with it.
Sure, it was for sale. It wasn't a pocket deal. It was on the market for sale when I bought it.
And you're saying what, you have to pay UDOT for the right to access? the
Well,
highway, or
not just UDOT, just that there's a 5-foot culvert through there, and we have to improve the frontage of Highway 56. And so the majority of the improvement costs are that. The biggest part of the improvement cost is the Highway 56 improvement. Curb gutter sidewalk, we have to jump over that culvert. And to do that for 5 lots, that won't work for that piece.
Right. Does council have any other questions for Mark? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If elevation is a big concern.
You still have to state your name.
Keith Elvison.
Thanks.
If elevation is a big concern on this, I can say we've been looking at the grading on it a little bit, and there's no intention to raise all that up. I'm not sure if it's 6 to 8 feet, but that basically puts all of these units in a hole, almost a full story below everything around it. And there's no intent to raise that up and make them huge. So I guess the neighbors on the east and the south may be looking at a single story, or what appears to be a single story house, because there's no reason to raise it up. We think we can make it work without that. So.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
The setback from the fence, what would that be, Kit?
In R3, I think it's 20 feet.
Okay. Just so you know.
Yeah.
You have to come up if you want to talk. I know you hate this.
Keith Elvison.
Setback on an R3 is 20 feet in the rear, 25 feet in the front, and 8 feet on the sides.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Heath. All right. Is there anyone else who wants to address? You get to say your name again if you do. All right. Then if there isn't anyone, we will close the public hearing on this and move on to our action agenda for 3 weeks. We will move to our staff portion. Consider an ordinance amending the transient room tax ordinance.
You don't want to stick around for this, Heath? You're good? Okay, man. You too, Mark? Yeah.
Wow.
So we're losing our audience.
Wow. There we go.
So we put the transient room tax in a few years ago, and basically the state tells us we can spend that transient room tax on anything that we can spend general fund money on. And when Cedar City enacted the transient room tax, we set up some percentage basis of where we were going to spend it. What this ordinance does is it says we're going to take away those percentage bases. We're going to still target the transient room tax at things that we think will enhance our community's ability to bring in more people, bring in more traffic and more folks to visit our town and stay in our hotels and things of that nature. But we're going to eliminate those strict percentage bases. And we originally set up a reserve account with a maximum of $250,000 in it. We're going to ask to have that changed to a reserve account with $50,000 in it. We're having a hard time thinking of $250,000 ventures that we could spend that reserve account on, and if we could free that capital up to be used somewhere else, that's part of the idea.
I can think of some.
So is there a $250,000 in there right now?
No.
then, Or
Where
I
did
was
this,
just wondering what the balance was.
185.
Oh,
185.
Somewhere around there.
where did this bubble up from?
One of the reasons, so we've had the percentages, and when we're doing the budget each year, it's trying to make sure that you come up with everything to keep the spending within the percentages. And sometimes it leads to unnecessarily funding things that go, not necessarily that, but we don't want to get, as TRT continues to increase, we don't want to have to get to the point of trying to make up projects to use the money for, to keep it within
Make
the
it fit.
percentages.
So Jason just had kind of a big hissy fit right there on the table.
Jason would
I
never
can't
do
imagine-
that.
I can't imagine Jason.
I was
doing
trying
that.
to.
I do have those periodically, a few today, but
But yeah, it's just basically to make it so we
Yeah, I don't
have a
understand.
better way to allocate the funds instead of having to stick within the different percentages. If one year it makes more sense to do something in one different area, we don't necessarily want to be bound and tied to, you have to be in this area, and this area, and this area.
What can that money be spent on exactly? TRT. doesn't-
Truly,
Yes.
anything general
Any-
fund money could be
anything
spent
general
on.
fund.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the approval process
bid.
or anything like that. It just changes.
It's still accounted for separately. It still comes to the mayor to propose it in her budget and the council to review the budget and approve it or not approve it. It's still the same
Is it
process.
still
there.
segregated
All
out
of
there
that's-
and-
All of that
stays
stuff
the
is
same?
really, the only thing this does, it's, the intention of it's still the same as far as wanting to do things to increase all that.
It's got to
All
be.
this does is take away the percentages
The
for
required
that
Gotta do it.
and makes it so the cap on the reserve isn't
So, but we do
$250,000.
keep it on things that attract people to the city, since
Yeah.
they're the ones who are paying for it to start with. And we are possibly looking at a banner year with another big hotel opening and a whole bunch of
Yeah,
people coming
and
to town.
this year during the budget, it will still be, you'll know exactly what it's being proposed to be spent on. All of that will stay the exact same. It just makes it truly so you don't have the percentage restriction.
I tried to put myself in the position of those who were sitting here when the TRT was first enacted, and I don't know, it just seems like they were trying to be all things to all people. I don't know why you would hamstring spending with those pots of money.
And we didn't and when it got enacted, you didn't know exactly how much was going to come in and all of those types of things. And
Will people like Shakespeare come and say, you betrayed us? You said that we pushed this and got it.
there's still some in there. We can still propose the event support money to go out of it. I mean, never was there amount dictated in this for them for any of that, but it's instead of a amount.
Was it voted on by the public generally to put this in place, or was this just
No, this was
wasn't
the
a
city.
ballot thing?
This was not this isn't, rap
Okay.
tax goes on the ballot. This does not.
Okay, so the community's not going to say, we put this in so that blankety blank would get so much,
And every year
Some people might.
every year we determine how much Shakespeare, summer games, all of those get. It's not like a set.
Are you, do you have something in the back of your mind that you're thinking of to pop in there now?
For all of this? No, we actually talked about it today and we're going to come up with a list of different projects and things to do it, and all of that will be proposed.
Can
But
some of this be set aside to actually, you know, paint light posts and make
that's
things?
some things that
plant
have been
flowers?
discussed is different things to make the community look more attractive when
Sparkle.
visitors actually come to town.
Well, signage would be a good.
Yeah.
Signage is one
Yeah.
we have talked about as well.
Oh, wait.
We've used the word sparkle quite a bit.
Sparkle has been probably, if you were going to pick one word over the past 3 days, that would be definitely up in the top.
Oh, that makes
few.
my heart warm and my eye sparkle.
So-
When we did discuss it originally, I think there was some proposals. I've been around that long. I remember the discussion to actually put some percentages on some of those, you know, Shakespeare, an actual, and put it in the ordinance. And we finally came to an agreement not to do that eventually and leave it open like you got here. But I can see the need of limiting, you know, and opening it up. But we probably should keep in consideration, because we did talk about at the same time of using some of the transient room tax, you know, to offset some of the wrap tax. So that allowed a little more to go to wrap tax, because we had this extra pot now that we didn't have before. And so that's, you know, I think we'll still do that. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any fear of cutting, you know, those projects out, but we'll have to
And
take a look at what we got.
like I said, everything will come in the exact same budget approval process. It's
All right.
nothing's being hidden or any of that. It's just making it so you don't try to create
I just want to
unnecessary
keep
ways to
Jason
spend.
happy, because boy, when he gets, you
Yeah,
know,
when he gets sideways, it's,
This will
It
go on
will
the,
make me happy.
this will go on the action agenda.
Hey, I had one question, just in the section B where it named a specific event. If we're making the ordinance, I mean, it names the Utah Summer Games. For example, the Utah Summer Games would be an event. Do we want to put an example of an event, I mean, in there? Or, because if you're thinking,
I know why that's in there. We were trying to say we're going to use event support money to support events. And then the conversation was, well, what constitutes an event? Is an event 2 guys at a car show down at Bradshaw Chevy's? Well, maybe that's not the kind of event
Yeah.
we're targeting. We're looking for a little more bang for that buck. So we threw it in there to say, this is the type of event we're
Yeah.
looking at.
but I mean, worst case scenario, Summer Games ends this year and we never have it again. And in our ordinance,
Then
we
we go,
have,
then we take that out.
Take it
okay.
out.
Then we just amend the
So you,
ordinance, take it
but,
out.
so you just wanted it. I didn't know if there was some other way to define a level instead of naming an
should put
event.
Kit's
I don't
birthday
know.
in there for an event.
That's an event.
Yeah,
I think also it was put in there because at the time, Senator Vickers and Westwood were lobbying the legislature to get that summer games to get a line item in the budget instead of just, you know, the one-time shot every time they go up to the legislature.
actually, I think this is one that's
So-
added through this process.
So anyway, I don't know, but I know it kind of showed that we maybe would support that event in a roundabout way. And
Yeah, it wasn't in the ordinance
uh,
before.
wasn't it?
So,
I remember that was another
Yeah.
discussion, but
We could go back to large festivals and activities and leave it up to the mayor. That's fine.
yeah.
Would you rather have that
That was
language
just-
instead of,
That was just to give it an example of
okay.
what kind of
Yeah.
events we're looking at.
I think we ought to take some of the money and fix the sound system in the Heritage Center. It is a joke.
Yeah,
oh, on a
pretty bad.
totally unrelated thing to anything.
yeah, just out of the blue.
Sorry.
Where did that come from?
The last home builders meeting when I couldn't hear.
yeah, and I've
Today,
been bugging them on that.
We are streaming. We have the new system in to stream our council meetings on a whole different system. So hopefully
Well,
they,
somebody texted me tonight, says it's not working.
well, never mind then.
You gotta look on YouTube
Yeah,
now.
it's on YouTube.
It is?
Yeah, as if they've
Wow.
tested it
The
multiple.
link, you click on the link and it goes to YouTube now?
I haven't clicked on the link because I've been in budget meetings all day, but they tested it today to work on that way, to put it on there.
So,
Hey, look, there you are.
Oh, boy.
so it is working.
Yeah,
So does the link on the website take you to this?
it should. They were going to
Is that what
update
you
it
did?
today.
After today?
All right.
What?
After today?
Or today.
So,
So anyways,
We need to set up a camera in
Take
that
out some of
corner.
no, we don't
Well,
actually.
I don't know. I just, that had just popped into my mind when I read it, like.
They want to see your beautiful smiling faces. Okay, so should we change it? Would you like the
I
other?
don't care, whichever way you want to do it.
Okay,
So we're back here on the 12th.
yes. Can we get a,
Never.
Motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So we'll take out USG and just.
So try to describe where you were out there digging. Is that
Okay,
private property or
here's
is
the
that-
store. And I tried to put a campaign sign on that corner. I said, this is the crappiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you
How
get
come?
close to it.
Oh, yeah.